Hello designers, how's it going? I hope you're having a great day so far. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate having you here. Today we're going to be airing out our dirty laundry, my dirty laundry, I think. It's kind of difficult when you are on social media and then you're just sharing things that you've done wrong because it's a highlight reel. Anyway, welcome back to this channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some mistakes that I've done in my career being an interior designer for over 10 years. So I'm sharing these mistakes in hopes that you will not make them and in hopes that you'll pay attention to some of the things. I mean, some things are inevitable. Mistakes are just a part of learning in life. I have actually been learning French on Duolingo. I've realized that mistakes taught me much more than anything else. So I'm guessing that this is how we learn, but yeah, it can be completely disheartening, but it's totally normal. Let's start with mistake number one, and that's inaccurate measurements. Listen, I do not want to blame my university here at all, because by the end of the day you have to continue to learn how to do your job as an interior designer over the years. There's no way that you can master the whole thing with just a university degree, but it would have been nice if somebody was to teach us exactly how measurements are done, because it's supposed to be intuitive but it really isn't. I have done so many measurements mistakes, and I've talked to other designers, I've worked with other designers, and they all have the same issues. That's because sometimes you miss just one dimension or you mismeasure something and then that's it for the project, and it happens. The first time this happened to me was when I measured one of the curtains for a client, but it didn't go over the entire window. What I did back then is I actually talked to the curtain guy, the tailor, and I told him, listen, 1, 2, 3, this is what happened, it's totally my mistake, so I'm going to take over it. I didn't tell the client, I didn't make a big deal out of it, I just, fixed it and moved on. And yeah, I paid $1,000 hefty price tag for a little mistake. At the end of the day, the project was fine, and yeah, I paid an urgent fee and all of that, but at least I kept my reputation for that project. And I think the client that might be watching this video might not even know that it was her house. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but yeah, measurements. So I'm going to be showing you in a video that I'm going to be posting after this video if you want to subscribe, or if you want to also follow me on social media, because I'm going to be sharing it as well, how to actually measure, because I found out the best way to measure. And it can be kind of tricky because when we're talking about, for example, a built-in wall. So what happened in the latest project that I've worked on with a colleague of mine, the built-in wall was not straight. So when we gave the measurements, they were correct measurements, but the level of the wall was tilted. So what happened is that we had to actually accept it as it is, and we didn't know this happened, but yeah, these things are going to happen. So let's talk about the second mistake, which is very tricky and we're not usually as interior designers given enough credit for, and that is coordination. Coordination is the most difficult part as an interior designer. This is my opinion. If you feel like it's a different part, you can leave a comment down below, tell me what your worst nightmare is. Usually what you see is you see like a painted wall and you see a lot of different images on it, you see fixtures, you see cladding, whatever it is that you might see. What you don't see is that there is a painter, there's a guy who came up to patch the wall, there is a guy who came up to lay out the electrical fixtures, and there's a guy who came out to hang things on the wall. And we're talking about a simple wall, maybe wallpaper or whatever it is that might be. Sometimes a misalignment in the timeline. Book a painter after the fixtures are already fixed on the wall, and that will cause a lot of confusion, that will cause a little bit of an error, that will cause like maybe dropping chandeliers, dropping wall cladding, breaking some things. And also this is natural, and in my personal experience, like, it's kind of hard to sometimes predict the timeline, especially if you're not dealing with like incredibly professional contractors. I think the only way to avoid this mistake is to lay out a very, very extensive checklist and timeline plan, and planning out when is everybody coming, and there's no detail that is too small. So there might be like a different guy to do everything, even like a cleaner or whoever might do whatever it is. think to the very little details that are in the design and how they're going to be fixed, and make sure that you have a very clear execution plan. So you've done your beautiful job of creating a beautiful design, but then after you want to execute, make sure that you have every single detail laid out. The third mistake is communication. My God, communication, even the word communication causes me so much anxiety. What you see in front of you, the screen, is someone who is right now very aware that I am twirling my chair back and forth, but that's because I usually have an anxiety even talking about communication. That's because communicating can be very tricky, can be very either too intimate or too far away out of the project. I made a lot of friends out of my own clients, and I have a lot of people that I worked with that I loved working with. They're people who overshare with you, they're people who undershare, and they're people that take everything personally. So, you know, until now, I'm still struggling with defining the correct relationship. And also with that comes how you communicate, how often you communicate, how often you let them communicate, and how often you set boundaries, or how much boundaries you set between you and the client. Now, before, I have a lot of videos of mine that I said that you need to become very close to the client, and I still agree that our job as interior designers, it's very intimate in nature, but also I think we have to watch out for becoming too involved in very personal details. I can't speak too much about this particular mistake because there is names and people there behind this concept or behind this mistake, so I don't want to talk anything bad about them, not in front of like the entire public to see. But by the end of the day, just make sure you set boundaries. There's a difference between being professional, doing your job, and asking the right questions, and asking so many questions to understand their lifestyle, and then there's another side of it where you are very careful about what you share and also how professional you remain. And yeah, that takes a lot of skill. With that being said, if you are a client of mine watching this video, thank you so much for being part of my life, and I'm grateful that my experience with this being too close to the client has mostly been like a very pleasant experience, but sometimes can be tad too personal, so careful with that. The other problem with communication comes with the project itself. So it's in between coordination and communication, and that is, for example, if you are based on a recent project that I've worked with another designer on, but we had a lot of different platforms. So we had Photoshop, we had SketchUp, we had design files, we had PowerPoint, multiple platforms that we were planning the same project on. So what happened is that when we are communicating, we would send, for example, a picture that was rendered from SketchUp to Lumion, or was sent straight from SketchUp to show a concept, a built-in or whatever. And then there's a presentation that gets approved to the client or approved by the client on design files. So what happened is that there was a miscommunication, and that costed us money out of the project, because by the end of the day, the client paid for a certain version that they saw on the design file presentation, even though they approved the one on SketchUp. So I'm telling you this so you can be 100% aware of this. I mean, yes, I have experience, but I'm still gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna be the first or the last time that I make this video, probably not, because I think, yeah, they build a lot of experience these kind of mistakes. If you're working on different platforms and sending presentations to the client, make sure that every version is 100% aligned to the version you're sending to the client, so you avoid, you know, paying for extra stuff that you might have missed. Do you know what I mean? Or they might have missed. Yeah. Approve every single change as well on every version, just because you never know who you're dealing with. The world is mostly made out of good people, but that 1% really screws over the experience for everyone, and you can never be too careful. Okay. Fourth mistake is It can also fall under the communication, but it's admitting the mistake, and when to admit the mistake is an art form. Sometimes you need to avoid telling the client mistake and go immediately into the problem solving mode. That's how I do it. That's how I have always done it. But I've done the worst mistake ever, I think, in my entire career, in my previous project, by communicating the mistake to the client, because she didn't even notice it. Why would I say it? And it was like something very small, but then after I kind of pointed it out, he does fix it, and that costed a lot more time and money. So all I'm saying is that sometimes you owe up to your mistakes if they're big, if they are affecting the projects, and sometimes the little mistakes you can either go into problem solving mode and immediately fix them out of your own pocket. Of course, you're not going to rip off the client. Or the second option is to ignore it if it's something very small. Like, for example, right now you might not notice that I have like a little freckle on my nose, the wrinkle, but once I showed it to you, now you will notice it throughout the entire video and throughout my other videos, which is, by the way, I don't care, I'm aging. I do care a little. The last mistake on this video, I'm sure I'll be making more of these, hopefully, in the future. Hopefully not throughout my own experiences, but I'm just saying this as a preference, and definitely take the last one with a grain of salt. Working with another designer is very tricky. I know that for sure. I've seen it around me, and I vowed to never do it again unless I absolutely think it's like we are aligning 100%. But when we're talking about a project, you have to 100% define the scope if you're going to be working with another designer. I don't think it's the right thing for everyone to do. There's a lot of different approaches people take when it comes to problem solving and to design styles, and also, unless you have like a lead designer. Sophie's making me shut up. Okay, I'll not say who. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna badmouth anyone, not publicly on the internet. But yeah, just be careful with who you're working with, and also always have a contract on everything. Make sure that the other person always signs up on everything, and that you've defined the term. If you want to work with someone else, make sure that they sign up a contract, that they know their responsibilities, and you know your responsibilities too. So yeah, it can only work if you have a lot of effort planning exactly what has to be done for each party. Other small mistakes that deserve an honorable mention is paint colors. Always swatch them inside, because there's a lot of difference in lighting, there's a lot of difference in how the walls reflect colors in each space. So swatch before you agree or make the client agree on a color. Another honorable mention is bedding. When you're buying bedding for a client, if you do that, when you buy bedding, make sure that all of the sizes line up to the bed. A recent mistake. Also, another mistake that I've done is that the client wanted a fitted sheet that's water blocking. So yeah, when I got her one, it was teeny tiny. Another honorable mention is that whatever amount of accessories you think you need, always double. Work with good people. Work with the right contractor. Be nice to people. Set boundaries. I think this is it for this video. Thank you so much for coming here. I really appreciate you. And yeah, let me know what you want to see in the next video. I'm excited to be back-ish on the YouTube sphere. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely time of the day wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.